Hello and welcome back to a meta guide to balls. We're on episode number 11, which is The Angels, and that means we've made it to the end of the album. But that's not the end of the series, because my plan is to continue this story on a meta guide to Little Beethoven, and then a meta guide to Hello Young Lovers, and so on, right up to present day Sparks. And once again, I'd like to thank everybody who's commented and people who have liked and subscribed, because it's so useful for the channel and it really helps motivate me to make this better and better. And if you haven't seen this series before, what I'm doing is I'm making a video for every song on the album from the year 2000, Balls by Sparks, and I'm showing the many ways that these words tie into a story that Sparks appear to be telling about themselves, and that is that they're recording an album that they know won't be a commercial success despite being very poppy, accessible music. And the reason they're doing this is to get dropped from their record deal, because they need to win back their creative freedom to make an album as bold as Little Beethoven, which followed just 2 years later. So without further ado, let's bring the album Balls to a close and take a listen to The Angels.
Call your name. I heard the angels call your name. They feel ashamed. They feel ashamed because you love
I can't be the only person who loves it when Russell swears, and it's something that we don't get very often. The only other song I can think of where they drop the F-bomb is Please Don't Fuck Up My World, that came out on A Steady Drip 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 in the year 2020. And what I really like is that both songs put this foul language in the context of a sweet, pretty song. Something that I can't emphasise strongly enough about Sparks is that every song has a companion piece, and in the case of The Angels, there are tons of them. Ron and Russell Mael are big on heavenly imagery in their songs, but it gets even more specific. I Heard the Angels Call Your Name. It's like communication between heaven and earth, and there is a big list of songs that include that Sparks trope. But there's one song that shares a particularly close relationship with The Angels, and that is Rosebud, that came out in 1986 on Music That You Can Dance To. Let's take a listen to the chorus.
What will your mother say? What will your father say? What will the angels say as they hide in disgrace from your beautiful face?
The lyrics to these two songs complement each other beautifully. It asks, what will the angels say? And that has an answer with I heard the angels call your name. Then they hide in disgrace because they feel ashamed. And your beautiful face looks so fucking good. It's a kind of precise songwriting that goes well beyond what you'd expect of an average pop band. It's all so well thought out. They're saying the same thing twice, so why? Both songs have similar second meanings about an adversarial relationship with the record label, who, for some reason, they're calling angels in both songs. I've spoken plenty about the reasons for them making Balls the way they did, and a similar story applies on Music That You Can Dance To. That was track 1 of the album, which was a response to their label boss asking them to make uncomplicated pop music that you can dance to, and that alone is what Sparks gave back. It's Sparks making music that they don't want to make, almost in protest at the record label. The next song, Rosebud, sounds deeply sad, and it's about this guy's love interest who seems to be dying on the street after some kind of attack. And a good rule of thumb with Sparks songs is if you treat the romantic interest as their creative muse, their way of maintaining this persistent ingenuity, then the creative freedom that they require is under attack. So let's take a listen to the opening verse.
Pretty baby, you look helpless. There is beauty in pain. Help is coming, so don't you worry. Don't even try to explain.
So their muse that they call "Oh Pretty Baby," she looks helpless because Sparks are not in control of the music they make. They tell us what they'd rather be doing on the title track.
So what's it gonna be? A symphony tonight. Perhaps a little jazz. All I wanna hear every day, every night.
So maybe the music they want to make is more akin to a little jazz or a symphony tonight. Or to put that another way, gratuitous sax and senseless violins. So they're a band with great ambitions who are being instructed by their record label to make simple pop music, so their muse looks helpless. But they say that there is beauty in pain. And I think this is the pain of the artist, of the songwriter, not being allowed to do what they like. But even with these restrictions placed on them, they're still creating great art. There is still beauty there. And I think that applies to the whole Balls project. When I first described this concept to people of Sparks intentionally making an album to not sell, it can sound like an ugly thing to do, like they're intentionally making this bad music. But I don't see it like that. I see it as Balls is the beauty that comes from the pain of the creative restrictions that the brothers have decided to work under. And as ever, it'll never be that bad because they've always got plans for what to do in the future. Here they sing "Help is coming, don't you worry." So the help is something that will revive their creative muse, and we get a hint of what that is later on in the song. They say, "Hush my darling, there's tomorrow, we'll be laughing again. I'll buy a camera, we'll take vacations, try not to move if you can." So buying a camera and taking vacations could be a reference to their upcoming project, the movie that ultimately failed, My the Psychic Girl. Obviously filmed with a camera and set in Japan. That line, "Hush my darling," that's important as well. It's there in the first verse as "don't even try to explain." So trying to explain is what Sparks do in their songwriting. These songs explain why the band make the music that they make and where they plan to go next. But here they're saying we don't have a choice. We have to make this pop music. So let's just be quiet and enjoy it. So just like on Balls, they're constrained by their record label, but they're enjoying that. They're just wallowing it, knowing that what they really want to make is further down the line. So let's take another look at the opening verse of The Angels and see how it fits into that world. The line, "I heard the angels call your name," is interesting because if it's Sparks' name that they're calling, then it's about to change. The original plan was for Sparks to become Lil Beethoven for the album Little Beethoven. It was going to be put out anonymously, except everybody realised that it was Sparks the moment they heard it. So this, I think, is connecting to Little Beethoven. And the record label, they feel ashamed. They've lost this great band and know that guiding them towards these top 40 hits was absolutely the wrong thing to do to a band like Sparks. And now they've heard Little Beethoven and it looks so fucking good that it's made them pretty angry.
I saw the angels clearing down. I saw the angels clearing down. They feel pain. They feel pain. Because you oh so
So the record label, or the Angels, are glaring down in anger because they've lost this band, and they feel inane or foolish because they've been pushing them to make music that sounds like The Prodigy or the Chemical Brothers, when really Sparks should be inventing their own genre of music. They've heard Little Beethoven and it's oh so fucking cool.
That Little Beethoven would show so much musical ability at such an early age surprised no one who possessed even a slight familiarity with his family history. That he would excel in both carrying on in his great-great-great-great-grandfather's grandiose musical tradition, while at the same time exhibiting what could only be described as street credibility, did surprise some. How did this young genius acquire his particular abilities?
That's a bonus track called The Ballad of Little Beethoven. It shows the genesis of the character, inheriting not only incredible musical ability, but also street credibility, as in, you look so fucking cool. And that credibility is a big part of Little Beethoven, particularly on final song Suburban Homeboy, which also deals with street credibility. It's saying that Sparks are back on the map culturally. It's showing Sparks as a band with a future.
Me, I take it in stride. Me, I know I'm on the right side this time.
This line might just be the highlight of the entire album for me, because it's saying that Sparks have won. They've just recorded an album that's designed to fail, but they'll take it in their stride. They'll face bad reviews and poor sales and this perception that their best is well behind them, but who cares, because they've faced that before and far worse in their past, and they always come out shining. Artistic integrity intact every time, and it doesn't hurt because they've made it. They say, I know I'm on the right side this time. And you can split Sparks' career right down the middle, with before Little Beethoven and after Little Beethoven. This is the end of the phase where they would hop from genre to genre and from scene to scene. And now they're on the right side, the side where they become their own genre of music, their own scene. This is the curtain coming down on Sparks version 1. But by saying I'm on the right side this time, it suggests that previously they thought that they were about to make that leap and it didn't happen. And that is true of the final track on Gratuitous Sax and Senseless Violins.
He came home, and instead of hearing the usual drums and bass, he heard
Violins, violins.
That song works as a perfect segue into Little Beethoven, both in terms of lyrics and the music. Now, last year I put out a video called A Meta Guide to Gratuitous Sax and Senseless Violins, and much like this series, I put every song into the context of a secret story that Sparks are telling about themselves. The story was this: they were in a bad place, both commercially and culturally. They'd had a few flop albums at the end of the 80s and then were off the scene for 5 years while they worked on a movie project which ultimately fell through. So they were in a really bad place and needed a hit single to get them back up off the ground, which they got with When Do I Get to Sing My Way, a song about wanting recognition that actually earned the band recognition, which is something that blows my mind every time. So Gratuitous Sax and Senseless Violins is a concept album about a comeback album. It's like they knew they were making a comeback album, but with one eye on the future. They didn't just want success for the sake of it. They had this ambition to fuse their music with classical music. So as far back as 1994, I believe they planned to make Little Beethoven. But as we know, that didn't happen. Instead, they were coerced by the record label into re-recording the greatest hits for plagiarism. So Ron and Russell's plans were thrown into turmoil. And then next time they hit the recording studio for Balls, instead of being given the creative freedom required to make an album like Lil Beethoven, they were persuaded to make commercial, chart-friendly pop music. So by now, they've recorded 3 albums, all of which are stepping stones to their ultimate goal of Lil Beethoven. So rather than seeing it as a negative where they haven't been able to realise their dream, they say, me, I take it in stride. And finally, they've made it. I'm on the right side this time. What could have been seen as a wasted decade has resulted in 3 absolutely brilliant albums with even better to follow.
I see the angels disappear. I see the angels disappear. They feel confused. They feel bemused. They are a pale picture of you.
SPARKS have somehow brought their record deal to a close, and as they put it, they're on the right side this time. But despite this, there's no sense in the song that it's them that's walking away. It's not them that are leaving. They see the angels disappear. It's like this influence that sat above them has just evaporated. It's gone. Meanwhile, the angels are confused. They're bemused. They don't know what's just happened. Ron and Russell have pulled the rug out from under their feet. And in this series, I've made it sound like a power struggle between SPARKS and the record label. But you'd be mistaken for looking at SPARKS as being the underdog in this relationship. Really, it's Ron and Russell who have held the cards the whole time. To illustrate this, let's go back to 1994 and listen to a song called See No Evil, Hear No Evil, Speak No Evil.
I'm the wife of Clinton. I don't have no problem with all of this. They come and go. Of course, I know everything. You don't know my thinking, who I dream of, all the gifts that I bring.
Each verse in this song has a powerful female figure who successfully navigated treacherous political landscapes. Starting in verse 1 with the First Lady of the day, Hillary Clinton. And this predates not only her run for the White House, but it also comes almost 4 years before the Monica Lewinsky scandal. So SPARKS were bang on the money with this song. It also works if you swap out the wife of Clinton for SPARKS. They say they don't have a problem with all of this, as in the way things work with the record label. Remember, at the time, this record deal was almost like being rescued after years in the wilderness. And no doubt the record label would have wanted to have turned them into the next Pet Shop Boys. Everything would have been geared for getting hit singles, when I believe that that's not what motivates SPARKS. They had the hit with When Do I Get to Sing My Way because they needed a hit, but it's not where they wanted to go. But they don't have a problem with a label trying to push them in the wrong direction, because ultimately they see themselves as being above the label. Over the years, they've seen so many labels come and go. While they've been in the game for so long, of course they know everything. In the second verse, starring Madam Mael, they use the line, I know the score, all this and more, this still in their teens. And this sounds creepy as hell, but can also be a joke about the generation gap between the elder statesmen of SPARKS and this young record label that they were a part of. So to say I know the score and you don't know my thinking, all I dream of and the gifts that I bring, it shows that what SPARKS have to offer isn't the same as what the record company want to show. Then there's the sense of I know something you don't know. There's that line, I know the score, and that can be like a musical score, like they know the score to Little Beethoven even at this early point. And you don't know my thinking, all I dream of, or the gifts I bring. This is close to what we heard earlier on the album on When I Kiss You, I Hear Charlie Parker Playing.
You'll never know it, I'll never show it. Only I hear it, only I know that what's apropos for me may believe me blasphemy.
And the hills are alive with the sound of music.
To the record label, Ron and Russ say, you'll never know it, as in Little Beethoven, I'll never show it, only I hear it, only I know it. That sits really well next to Hillary Clinton saying, you don't know my thinking, all I dream of. It's the plan for their neoclassical album, and that is not appropriate for the record label. This is a label that specialises in top 40 Europop hits, so it would be blasphemy for Sparks to even suggest something as audacious as Little Beethoven. So Sparks are the only ones who hear it, and that reminds me of this.
A rainbow forms, my baby's taking me home, but we're both colorblind. My baby's taking me home, but we can hear what others can't hear. My baby's taking me home. We can hear the sound of the chorus singing.
So we can hear what others can't hear. It's like only I hear it, only I know it, and you don't know my thinking. Little Beethoven is the grand plan for Sparks version 2.0, kept a secret from the label for years and expressed as the monumental release of tension at this point in My Baby's Taking Me Home. This is the moment where we first hear guitars and drums on the album. It completes the palette of sounds that defines everything that Sparks have done since My Baby's Taking Me Home. We, the listeners, finally get to hear what's been in their heads for so long. Rather than being a change in direction that the brothers took on a whim, as they've claimed, its genesis can be seen throughout 90s period Sparks, with each of these albums looking forward to Little Beethoven, looking forward to a bright future for the band. Even when the label threw a spanner in the works with their demands for plagiarism and balls, Sparks knew that it would only be a matter of time until they were reborn. It's as if the relationship with the label, where they started out as underdogs in need of being rescued, has been redefined as if they're a dormant power, just like Hillary Clinton, Madame Mael, and finally Cleopatra. In this relationship, Sparks are painting themselves as Cleopatra, the clear dominant power over Mark Anthony, the record label, who have bitten off more than they can chew by working with a band like Sparks. They may appear to the world like underdogs who have had one last chance, rescued by Logic Records, but they're above the label, and so by the time we get to the Angels on Bulls, they see the Angels disappear, as if they had no influence in the first place. They felt the heat and felt defeat, and all because Sparks look so fucking good.
They felt the heat and felt defeat because you look so fucking good.
And that brings a meta guide to Balls to a conclusion. So thank you very much to everybody who's stuck with me so far. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if everybody could like and subscribe and comment, I'd be ever so grateful. I've also included a link to buy me a coffee because I'm looking to improve my video editing software so I can get these things out faster, and I hope you're all as excited as me about what's to come on a meta guide to Little Beethoven. So once again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you soon.